What the f? So today we're going to take a look at a very interesting stand. As you may have noticed by that intro, this stand promises a lot of things, and it does it in such a weird way that I really had to get a hold of this thing just to take a look at all these capabilities. This stand is called the Multifunctional Game Storage and Display Stand, and it comes from JYS or G's. I'm not sure. Maybe you'll go geez at the end of this video because you'll be amazed by all the things that this thing does. But just taking a quick look at this box, you can see what I mean by all these promises that it's making. It's showing all the Nintendo retro console cartridges all laid out here, as well as a lot of the new ones. It seems to cover every year since Nintendo has existed. So this stand is so odd and covers so many different things that it would have to be for this perfect scenario human being, right? Or maybe not. We'll definitely take a look when we get into this box. But staying outside of the box, you can see these kind of tropey things that a lot of these Chinese companies like to do. And they like to throw on, you know, their Photoshop skills out there. So they show Ivysaur several times as one of the Amiibos showing up here. This is a stand for Amiibo. It's a stand for DS cartridges, for Switch cartridges, all the retro cartridges. It's there for the actual Switch cases as well. And if you just happen to have 8 Joy-Con laying around that you need to happen to have a place to put, this might be the stand for you as well. I mean, it just gets more and more crazy as you find out what this thing is capable of. So getting into the box, you'll find that there is a bunch of parts in here. Really not that many. There's a lot of pieces that kind of interlock together. There is a handy manual in there that just pretty much has a picture of where all the parts go. You link these things into each other and it's done. There's no glue, no real complicated, over engineering here with putting this thing together. So kind of gets a gold star in this category because it does work and it gets put together pretty easy. Outside of the pieces that were in the box, you'll find a couple little pieces of foam flying around in there. And so, I mean, there's not really that much in the way of protecting the stuff inside, just a couple pieces of foam, but it's thick plastic. I don't think it's gonna break anytime soon unless you end up with, you know, one of these male people that throws our stuff against the door. So you'll probably end up with it breaking. So now taking a closer look at all these slots that they have laid out so that you can put your retro cartridges from Nintendo in there, safe and sound. These look like pretty big slots, so don't expect for, you know, this to be a perfect fit where it's just kind of on the edge of the item so it holds it perfectly straight up. You may even end up with cartridges that lean back a little bit. In the case of NES cartridges here in the US at least, they kind of lean in a way. You can stand them up and down, but it's not the perfect size for those NES cartridges. It'll certainly hold them though. Outside of that, I definitely tested it with a bunch of Nintendo cartridges just to see if they would work, if for some reason it would be too small of a slot or just too big that it would be crazy, and it ended up okay. The cartridges that I did end up testing were Super Nintendo, Famicom, N64, NES, and a slew of other cartridges that I just kind of threw in there that may not even have been from Nintendo, but I wanted to see if they fit. The overall gist that I get from this system is that you'd be putting the shorter cartridges, so Famicom, N64, maybe Super Nintendo on the bottom level of this item, and then you'd have the bigger cartridges up top. This thing is just so niche. It's so strange to see a thing like this. But it's pretty cool. But again, those slot sizes are quite large, so this is not like a thing that's tailored for your specific cartridges. In many scenarios, that slot's gonna be too wide for the cartridge, so you're just gonna be kind of standing your cartridge up in these slots. And that kind of defeats the purpose of having a stand specifically for your cartridges, in my opinion. Now moving kind of past those retro cartridges and into some of the handheld cartridges, we do have these slots for the Nintendo DS cartridges to sit in. They seem to work just fine. Those slots are the right size and shape for Nintendo DS cartridges. And I know specifically that this company that kind of makes these weird oddity items has made Nintendo DS slots in the past, so I'm not surprised that they would fit here. And it's not a bad way to have them on display. I mean, you're gonna end up with, you know, a lot of dust on your items overall just having this out, but for the most part, it does what it says it does. Those Nintendo DS cartridges fit nicely. Moving over to the Switch cartridge slots, These work just as well as the DS slots as well. These are not going to hold them too tight or have any problems. They're not going to damage your Switch cartridges. They work just fine for what they say they'll do. Now, one that's a little bit more interesting is the Nintendo Switch cases. And I will say I'm pretty impressed that they got the exact right size for these Nintendo Switch cases. You can have all of your Ring Fit Adventure copies sitting on top of this. There is one caveat to that. In the back side, there is one slot that's just too big for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why they made that slot a little bit bigger. Maybe they did just had extra room, so they left it an open slot instead of filling it in with a little plastic. But it does make for a little bit of an oddity there. One of your cases could be leaning back a little bit further, so if you're looking at your stuff from the side, you can end up seeing some unevenness, and maybe that'll throw off your OCD a little bit. Now, on top of having all these slots for all these games, you also have 8 slots for Game Boy games. And specifically, I love Game Boy games, so I'm always hyped to see somebody doing something with Game Boy. And they haven't failed here. These seem to work really well. They are holding the Game Boys perfectly. There's no overshot in the sizing here. It is the right size, the perfect size for Game Boy cartridges. So this is a total reputable place to put some Game Boy cartridges. You're not gonna have to worry about jamming them in there or scratching them up or damaging any of the artwork. They are literally the perfect size, just slightly wider and thicker than a Game Boy cartridge, which is right where you should be so that you're not harming the plastic or cutting up any of the artwork or anything. It's perfect. And of course, one of the oddest things on the artwork on the case is that there's a giant Ivysaur on there, Ivysaur Amiibo, as well as showing it in the actual display stand. There's 2 Ivysaur Amiibo. They must really like Ivysaur, and that's why they photoshopped a couple of them into there. But moving on to Amiibo entirely, this works fine for Amiibo. There's no problem here. The circles that they've cut into this plastic are the right size. There's not going to be any damage to your Amiibo. There might be some really large Amiibo out there, like the Monster Hunter Stories Amiibo that were released in Japan. May be too large for these slots, just because you have some plastic behind it, and you might have some of your cartridges behind it, so there may just not be enough room there. I mean, I guess it gives you a place to put some Amiibo that you're really into. If you're just gonna have this out, maybe you have a small collection or a small game space that you just want to have a few things out that you can grab off of a cart like this, this might be the right thing for you. You could just grab those few Amiibo that you have that you really like and scan them on your Switch. But Amiibo is not the last thing that this thing says it could do. The last thing it says it could do is hold 8 Joy-Con. 8, I have no idea why. Again, this thing must be for an extended family of people with all these Joy-Con. Maybe you're a Joy-Con collector and you're just really into your Joy-Con, but you don't want to show them off too much, so you display them like this. This stand has 4 slots on the left and 4 slots on the right for Joy-Con to sit. And for the most part, outside of that first Joy-Con, you're not going to really see those other Joy-Con apart from the outer edges. So if you did have specific Joy-Con, some special edition Joy-Con that you had for your Switch, this might not be the best way to display the artwork that's on the front face of them. But if you had just a bunch of different colors, this might be a cool way to kind of show off those colors. I think overall it's kind of an odd look. This whole thing is just a very odd look to it, but I think it's kind of cool. And on the Joy-Con, I mean, the functionality's there. They slide right in, there's no problems, the size is correct. You're not gonna injure or damage your Joy-Con in any way. So, you know, they've kind of hit a home run here with all of their sizing. They've done some oversizing in the slots in the middle, which I think is really good, because at first I thought that each slot would be for a very specific cartridge. And now that I see they're kind of bigger, I can see this having more uses among people. But yeah, it's definitely an oddity to say the least. I don't see that many of these kind of, you know, multi-cases for a ton of different things out there. Specifically, definitely not marketed like this in this kind of an odd way. I found this to be hilarious when I originally saw it, put it out on the community tab, and a lot of people responded to it, and it's pretty funny. It's interesting. I think it's a really cool relic of just a company throwing everything that they possibly can at this display to just see what sticks. So am I gonna be using this display? Probably not. If somebody wants this display, I'm sure these will be incredibly cheap. You'll probably find them on, you know, wish.coms and, you know, your Alibabas out there. You'll probably find it there. Eventually they work their way onto Amazon, so you'll probably find it there as well. Just type in the name off the box. If you're really after it, this is for you, then go and grab it. I'm sure it won't be that expensive. As far as I'm concerned, I like displaying all of my stuff to the best of my ability that I can. I mean, this channel is all about displaying game collections and game spaces and just maximizing, you know, the total potential of your games, getting that secondary use out of them. So I prefer to find stands that are specifically designed for each cartridge or specifically perfect for displaying whatever it is. And I think this thing displays everything. I think it stores everything a lot better than it displays it. But it's definitely not reaching its max potential as far as any of those things go. But yeah, if you guys ever see something weird like this out there, feel free to let me know in the comments and where I can go and grab this thing so I can get it out there, test it out, and show it to everybody. Either way, I think these items are pretty cool, and these cool little pieces of history, these relics of design and just kind of conglomerations of this weirdness. I really like finding these and taking a look at them and sharing them with you guys. Outside of that, I appreciate everybody coming and checking out the video today. Thank you guys for watching. We do have another show called Game Room Tours. If you have a game room that you want to send in pictures of, I will leave a link in the description telling you exactly how you can go about sending in pictures or videos of your game collection so we can take a look at them on Game Room Tours. We're always looking for more pictures and videos of people's game collections so we can kind of pick them apart and look at all the cool little displays that they have in there. But if you like this video today, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Outside of that, just have a fantastic day today and collect what you love.